Ladies and gentlemen, today is Tuesday, the 4th of January 2022. This is the Voice of Turkey's English language transmission, broadcasting from Ankara in 25-meter band between 1330, 1430 UTC and 12035 kHz to Europe. You can listen to us over the Turksat 3A and 4A satellites and on the internet at www.trt.net.tr through the Voice of Turkey link. Our email address is englishdesk@trt.net.tr. Following the news and the review of the Turkish press, the Voice of Turkey will present our feature programs and some beautiful Turkish music. And now, TRT Voice of Turkey presents news in English. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan will visit Saudi Arabia in February as part of Ankara's intention to normalize ties with several regional countries. Erdogan made the announcement in Istanbul on Monday, saying trade between Turkey and Saudi Arabia will be discussed during his next month's visit, local media reported. Like Ankara, Riyadh has also been attempting to repair its diplomatic ties with Turkey following the murder of dissident Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi in Saudi Arabia's Istanbul consulate in 2018. Erdogan and Saudi King Salman had discussed bilateral relations in April and May in 2021. Following the development, Turkey said Ankara hoped to maximize its cooperation with the Gulf countries. Aside from Saudi Arabia, Turkey has also been in negotiations with Egypt and the United Arab Emirates in an attempt to mend fraught ties. In May, Ankara sent a delegation led by Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu to Saudi Arabia for talks, and the Foreign Minister met his counterpart Prince Faisal bin Farhan in Riyadh. Although the kingdom never publicly acknowledged that it was boycotting Turkey-made products, some Saudi businessmen endorsed the move amid growing political tensions between the two countries. To circumvent the unofficial blockade, some Turkish exporters have been rerouting food, clothing and other goods. Germany's new agriculture minister from the Green Party, Mr. Cem Özdemir, has condemned the recent Islamophobic attack on a Muslim cemetery in the country's northwest. The German embassy in Turkey said on Tuesday the embassy was referring to attack on gravestones in a Muslim cemetery in German city of Iserlohn on New Year's Eve as the latest indicator of rising anti-Islam sentiment in Europe. The desecration of graves in Iserlohn is deeply repugnant and nothing more than a cowardly anti-Muslim attack. My thoughts are with the relatives of the deceased. I can well imagine what they are feeling. Let's not leave them alone, Özdemir had voiced on Sunday. According to the local police, about 30 headstones at a Muslim cemetery in Iserlohn have been damaged. Authorities issued an appeal for information from anyone who witnessed the vandalism or has information that could help the investigation. The attack comes amid a worrying rise in Islamophobic crimes in Germany in recent years. The Turkish Foreign Ministry had also expressed sadness in the face of the attack. The ministry urged officials to find the perpetrators of this disastrous attack, who must be brought to justice and given the punishment they deserve. The European Union delegation to the Palestinians expressed grave concern Monday over the health of a Palestinian prisoner who has been on a hunger strike for over 4 months in protest against his detention without trial by Israel. The European Union delegation to to the Palestinians, said it is seriously concerned about Hisham Abu Hawash, whose life is reportedly in immediate danger, according to a report by Physicians for Human Rights, and is in critical condition on the 140th day of the hunger strike, remaining that Hawash aimed to protest his administrative detention in an Israeli prison since October 2020. Through the strike, the delegation said on Twitter that the use of administrative detention without formal charge remains a long-standing concern. Detainees have the right to be informed about charges underlying any detention, must be given a fair trial within a reasonable time, or be released, they added, calling for an urgent solution from Israeli authorities. French government officials have vowed to enact by mid-January, as planned, a law to block unvaccinated people from hospitality venues, despite the legislation hitting a procedural hitch in Parliament overnight. January 15 remains our goal for the law coming into force, European Affairs Minister Clement Bonnet told television on Tuesday. Until now, France has enforced a COVID-19 health pass, which means in order to get into restaurants, cafes or cinemas or broad trains, people need to either show a fresh negative test or a proof of vaccination. The legislation will remove the option of showing a negative test, effectively barring unvaccinated people from hospitality venues or trains. It has faced fierce resistance from anti-vaccination campaigners and far-right and far-left groups, but is backed by the government, which has a majority in Parliament. Former United States President Donald Trump and his two eldest children, Donald Trump Jr. and Ivanka Trump, have been subpoenaed by New York Attorney General Letitia James in a case surrounding their families' business practices. The Trumps were recently subpoenaed, but multiple reports on the legal development did not specify when the legal documents were issued, but the Associated Press reported they were made public on Monday. Donald Trump Jr. and Ivanka Trump have both refused to comply with the subpoenas, ABC News reported. James' years-long civil investigation into the Trump Organization centers on how it has valued assets it holds and whether it misled tax officials and banks about their worth. At issue is whether the organization ramped up its property valuations when dealing with banks to receive more favorable loans and minimize their worth when reporting to tax officials. India's capital, Delhi, will impose a weekend curfew to try and curb the spread of the Omicron variant of the coronavirus as cases have risen in the past few days. Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia told a news conference that most offices would have to make half their employees work from home. In the meantime, all schools in Canada's most populous province will be shut down and moved to online learning because of a record number of coronavirus infections fueled by the ultra-contagious Omicron variant, Ontario's Premier announced Monday. Premier Doug Ford also announced the closure of indoor dining. Gyms and cinemas will also close, and hospitals have also been told to pause all non-urgent surgeries. Ford said they are expecting a tsunami of cases and noted just 1% of 100,000 new cases a day could overwhelm hospitals. Ontario has a population of more than 14.7 million. The US-based technology giant Apple has become the first company with a $3 trillion of stock market value. Apple, whose stocks increased by 3 times since the beginning of the pandemic, gained a value of around 3% on Monday. On the first transaction day of 2022, the company's shares hit $182.88 to hit the market value of $3 trillion. Microsoft, with a $2.5 trillion stock market value, and Alphabet, with a $1.9 trillion, followed Apple. Apple hit the $1 trillion mark in August 2018 and $2 trillion in August 2020. And that was the news brought to you by the Voice of Turkey.